I always had a gut feeling that something was off. My wife, Lauren, had started acting strange, coming home late, keeping her phone glued to her hand, and treating me like I was just some roommate she barely tolerated. But like a fool, I ignored the signs. I told myself I was paranoid, that after 10 years of marriage, things naturally cooled down. That was until I came home to the nightmare that changed everything. It was supposed to be a normal night. I left work early, planning to surprise Lauren with her favorite takeout and a bottle of red wine. I even stopped by the florist and grabbed a bouquet, some pathetic attempt to rekindle whatever was left of our marriage. But when I walked through the front door, I immediately knew something was wrong. The house was eerily quiet. No TV, no music, no sound of Lauren talking on the phone. Just silence. My gut twisted, and as I stepped into the living room, my eyes locked onto something that made my blood run cold. On the coffee table, propped up like some kind of trophy, was a printed photograph. My hands trembled as I picked it up. It was a picture of another man's naked body. But not just any part of him. The part that made my stomach churn with disgust. Written across the top in red ink were the words, "Your wife's favorite toy. Enjoy the visual, buddy." My breath hitched. My pulse pounded in my ears. My vision blurred with rage and disbelief. I stood frozen, unable to process the humiliation that was physically burning through my veins. My wife, had been screwing someone else. And not only that, but this arrogant bastard had the audacity to send me proof, like he was marking his territory. I forced myself to move, my hands gripping the edges of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. My brain screamed for answers, for logic, for anything that could make this make sense. But all I found was a sinking, suffocating feeling of betrayal. Then, I heard it. A soft creak from upstairs. Lauren was home, and she had no idea I had just walked into her dirty little secret. I stood there, gripping that disgusting photo, my hands shaking with a mix of rage and disbelief. My breathing was ragged, shallow. My mind raced through every possibility, every excuse, every pathetic attempt I had made to believe she was still the woman I married. But no, this was real. A creak echoed from upstairs. She was home. My legs moved before my brain even caught up. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my pulse hammering against my ribs like a war drum. With every step, the fury inside me grew, spreading through my veins like fire. As I reached the top, the bedroom door was slightly ajar, and inside, I could hear the soft rustling of fabric. My fingers curled into fists. I pushed the door open. Lauren stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair, completely oblivious. She was wearing nothing but a silky robe, the one I bought her for our anniversary. The irony nearly made me laugh. She turned at the sound of the door creaking and froze when she saw my face. "Jesus, Nick," she gasped, clutching the robe tighter around her. "You scared me." I didn't speak. I just raised the photo and held it up for her to see. Her eyes flicked to it, and for the briefest moment, just a second, I saw it. That flicker of panic, the twitch in her jaw, the way her lips parted as if she was about to lie. And then, just as quickly, she schooled her expression into something unreadable. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice eerily calm. I barked out a humorless laugh. "That's your first question? Not I can explain, Nick, or this isn't what it looks like?" She crossed her arms, tilting her head slightly. "Well, since you already have the photo, I'm guessing you've made up your mind about what it means." Oh, she wasn't even going to deny it? Interesting. "Who is he?" My voice was low, deadly. She let out a slow, exaggerated sigh, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Does it matter?" I took a step closer, my grip tightening around the photo until the edges crumpled. "Who is he?" She met my gaze, something flashing in her eyes. Was it defiance? Amusement? "You don't know him," she said simply. The casual way she said it made something snap inside me. I turned and slammed my fist against the dresser, sending a perfume bottle crashing to the floor. "Don't you do that, Lauren. Don't you act like this is nothing." My voice was raw, my throat burning. How long have you been screwing him?" She flinched at my words, But instead of guilt, her expression darkened. "Don't talk to me like that," she snapped. My laugh was sharp, bitter. "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I being rude? Did I offend you, Lauren? Are my feelings getting in the way of your fun?" She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes at me. "Nick, calm down. You're acting crazy." "Crazy?" I stepped closer, forcing her to look at me. "Do you even feel bad?" Her lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smirk, but wasn't remorse either. "Bad?" she echoed. "I mean, yeah, I guess. But it's not like you've been a saint, Nick." The accusation knocked the air from my lungs. I stumbled back a step, blinking. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" She shrugged, turning back to the mirror. "Fixing a strand of hair like this was just another Tuesday night conversation. You've been distant, boring, predictable. I needed more." I stared at her, my stomach twisting. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't crying, begging for forgiveness, swearing it was a mistake. She was justifying it. "You're unbelievable," I muttered, shaking my head. She finally turned to look at me again, and for the first time, I saw something genuine in her expression. Not guilt, not regret. Annoyance. Like she was mad that I found out. "Look, Nick, I'm sorry you had to find out this way," she said, in the same tone someone might use when apologizing for forgetting to buy milk. "But let's be honest, our marriage hasn't been great for a while. Maybe this is for the best." I clenched my jaw. "For the best?" I echoed. "Yeah," she said, sighing again. "You're not happy. I'm not happy. Maybe we just move on, you know?" I had imagined this moment before. If I ever caught her cheating, I thought she'd cry, beg me to forgive her. Maybe I'd shout, throw things, leave the house in a rage. But this cold, indifferent, almost smug woman standing in front of me, I didn't know her. Something inside me turned to stone. "You want me to just move on," I said slowly. "Just forget that my wife has been screwing some guy behind my back?" She raised an eyebrow. "You really want to drag this out, Nick? What's the point? You're not going to do anything about it." I stilled. A beat of silence passed. Her words settled between us like poison, sinking deep. I wasn't going to do anything about it? Lauren smirked. She thought I was weak. She thought I'd just yell, maybe cry, and then go sleep on the couch like some pathetic loser. She had no idea. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I stood there, gripping the crumpled photo so hard my fingers ached. My heart pounded like a war drum. But my mind? It had never been clearer. Lauren was standing just a few feet away from me, arms crossed, expression smug, as if she had already won some twisted game. She thought she had me figured out, that I'd yell, break a few things, then crawl away, licking my wounds like a beaten dog. She was wrong. So damn wrong. "You're not going to do anything about it," she had said. The arrogance, the sheer audacity of that statement made my vision blur red for a second. I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Not because I wasn't furious. No, I was past that. I was in a place beyond anger, beyond heartbreak. A place where everything felt cold and calculated. "You think this is funny?" I finally asked, my voice eerily steady. Lauren gave a small shrug. "I think you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I repeated, my lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Yeah." She tilted her head. "Look, Nick, it's not like I wanted you to find out like this. But honestly, maybe it's for the best. Now we can stop pretending." "Pretending?" My voice dropped lower. She let out an exasperated sigh, like she was tired of explaining herself, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Come on, Nick. You had to feel it too. We've been in a rut for years." I was just the first one to admit it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was standing in front of me, justifying everything. No remorse. No shame. Just cold, calculated excuses. I exhaled sharply through my nose, forcing myself to stay composed. My next words came out quieter, deadlier. "How long?" Lauren blinked. "What? How long have you been screwing him?" She hesitated, just for a second, and that was all the answer I needed. "A few months," she finally said, but the way she avoided my gaze told me the truth. It had been longer, much longer. I clenched my jaw, staring at the woman I had spent a decade of my life with, the woman I had built a home with, planned a future with. And yet, looking at her now, I realized I had no idea who she really was. Who is he? I demanded. Lauren sighed again. Nick, does it really matter? My hands balled into fists at my sides. Does it matter? I repeated, a sharp laugh escaping my throat. Are you serious right now? She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her damn eyes. Fine, she said, shrugging like it was nothing. His name is Brandon. He's someone who actually makes me feel alive, unlike you. The words hit me like a gut punch. Unlike me. I stared at her, the weight of her betrayal settling into my bones. I could have screamed. I could have punched a hole through the wall. But what was the point? Lauren didn't care. She wasn't sorry. She had moved on long before I ever knew something was wrong. I took a slow breath, then let the photo slip from my fingers, watching as it fluttered to the floor between us. Lauren smirked. Are we done here? Something inside me snapped. I turned and walked out of the bedroom without another word. She thought she had one. She thought I was leaving, defeated. But she had no idea. I wasn't walking away. I was planning. And when I was done, she'd regret every single second she spent under another man. I walked out of that bedroom, my mind a storm of fury and ice-cold calculation. The sound of Lauren sighing behind me, muttering something under her breath, barely registered. I wasn't leaving. Not really. I was stepping back, reassessing, reloading. She thought this was over? That I'd accept this humiliation. Let her continue playing house while sneaking off to her little side piece? She had no idea who she was dealing with. I stepped into my office and shut the door behind me, pressing my palms against the desk, trying to steady my breathing. My reflection in the darkened computer screen stared back at me, jaw clenched, veins bulging in my neck, eyes hollow and burning all at once. I should have seen this coming. All the late nights. The sudden interest in her appearance. The way she brushed me off with a half-hearted excuse every time I tried to get close. I had been a damn fool, but no more. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. I hesitated for only a second before pressing call. Nick? Haven't heard from you in a while, the voice on the other end said. Yeah, Tom, I said, my voice steady. Listen, I need a favor. Tom had been my best friend since college, one of the few people I trusted. He was also a private investigator. Not professionally, but he had the skills, the contacts, and the nose for dirt that made him damn good at it. What kind of favor? He asked, his tone shifting immediately. I exhaled sharply. Lauren's been cheating. A beat of silence. Then, son of a bitch. Yeah, I muttered, rubbing my temple. And I need proof. Solid proof. Tom didn't hesitate. Give me a couple of days. I'll get you what you need. Thanks, I said, my grip tightening on the phone. You okay, man? He asked, his voice softer. I let out a dry laugh. Not even close. We hung up, and I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I could have filed for divorce right then and there. I had enough already, the photo, the confession, but that wasn't enough. I wanted more. I wanted to make her regret ever thinking she could do this to me. Lauren didn't just betray me. She mocked me. She belittled me. She had the nerve to smirk in my face while admitting she was screwing another man. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to destroy her. Phase 1. The financial strike. The next morning, I woke up early. Lauren was still asleep, sprawled across the bed like she didn't have a care in the world. I resisted the urge to wake her up and tell her exactly what I thought of her. Instead, I grabbed my laptop and got to work. See, Lauren had gotten comfortable. Too comfortable. She hadn't worked in years, said she deserved to be taken care of. I had agreed, like a naive idiot. I paid for everything, the house, the bills, her expensive shopping habits. That ended today. First, I logged into our joint account and transferred every single penny into my personal account. I left just enough for the upcoming bills, because I wasn't going to let her play the victim when things went south. Next, I removed her from all the credit cards. Then, I changed the passwords to every single streaming service, online shopping account, and subscription she had ever freeloaded off of me. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. By the time Lauren woke up, stretched, and sauntered downstairs in that same silk robe, I was already sipping my coffee at the kitchen table, waiting for the show to begin. She opened the fridge, grabbed her usual oat milk, and poured herself a cup of coffee, still oblivious. Then, she pulled out her phone and tapped on the screen. I heard it before I saw it. That tiny, irritated TSK she always made when something didn't go her way. She tried again, and again. Then she turned to me, confusion knitting her brows together. "Nick, my card's not working." I took a slow sip of my coffee, savoring the moment. "Weird," I said flatly. She blinked, then tried another card. Same result. "Okay, what the hell?" she muttered, tapping furiously at her phone. I watched her, waited. Then she finally looked up at me, realization dawning. "Did you?" "Yep," I said, setting my mug down. Her mouth fell open. "You took the money?" I leaned back in my chair. "My money?" "Yeah, I did." Her face twisted with rage. "You can't do that." I raised an eyebrow. "Pretty sure I can." "You son of a—" She cut herself off, exhaling sharply. "This is childish, Nick." I tilted my head. "Childish? Like, say, cheating on your husband?" Her jaw clenched. "You're being dramatic." I chuckled, shaking my head. "No, Lauren. I'm being smart." She huffed, crossing her arms. "This won't change anything. You're still just gonna yell, and then go back to being the same boring, pathetic." I stood up so fast the chair scraped against the floor, cutting her off mid-sentence. She took a step back. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. I leaned in just enough for her to hear me clearly. "You have no idea what's coming, Lauren." And for the first time since this all started, she looked nervous. Good. Let her be nervous. Because this was just the beginning. Lauren's fake confidence wavered for just a second, but she quickly straightened her posture, crossing her arms like she still had control over the situation. "Nick, you're acting crazy," she scoffed. "This isn't going to change anything. You can throw a tantrum all you want, but at the end of the day, I'm still leaving you." I smirked, leaning against the counter. "Leaving me? With what money, Lauren?" Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. That's when it hit her. She had no income, no savings, no backup plan. She thought she'd ride the divorce train, taking half of everything while still having fun with her boy toy on the side. But I had taken the one thing she actually cared about, control. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed. I tilted my head. "Already did." She grabbed her phone again, fingers flying over the screen, no doubt trying to log into our accounts, trying to regain access. But it was too late. I watched her face twist with frustration, her knuckles turning white as she gripped the device. "Nick, this is illegal," she snapped. "You can't just cut me off." I chuckled. "Oh, I absolutely can. And don't worry, I left enough for the bills. Wouldn't want you playing the poor abandoned wife card in court." Her eyes burned with rage, but I could see the panic creeping in. "You're being spiteful," she spat. I shrugged. "And you're being delusional if you think you're walking away from this unscathed." Lauren exhaled sharply, then her expression shifted. The anger faded, replaced with something else, something calculated. And I knew what was coming before she even opened her mouth. The manipulation. She walked up to me, placing a delicate hand on my arm. "Nick," she said, voice soft, almost affectionate. "Let's not do this. We're both adults. We can talk this out." I laughed. A deep, real laugh. The kind that sent chills down her spine. "Talk this out? Like you talk things out before jumping into bed with another man?" She flinched, but recovered quickly. "It's not like that." I stepped back, shaking my head. "No, you don't get to rewrite history, Lauren. You made your choices. Now you live with them." Her jaw clenched again, and that fake sweetness vanished in an instant. "You're going to regret this," she muttered. I leaned in, lowering my voice. "I already regret ever loving you." Her eyes widened just slightly, like she wasn't expecting that. Good. Let her feel it. She turned on her heel and stormed off upstairs, probably to call her lover, maybe to figure out her next move. I let her go, because I wasn't done yet. Lauren had always cared about her image. She thrived on attention, admiration. To her, appearances were everything. And that's exactly what I was about to destroy. I grabbed my phone and texted Tom. "Nick, got anything for me?" Tom, "Oh yeah. Meet me in an hour." I wasted no time. I grabbed my keys, left Lauren to stew in her panic, and drove to Tom's place. When I got there, he was already waiting with a thick envelope. "Hope you're ready," he said, handing it over. I opened it and felt my stomach twist, not from sadness, but from sheer, boiling rage. Photos, messages, time-stamped receipts. Lauren had been cheating for almost 2 years. And the best part? Brandon, her lover, was married too. "Oh, this is gold," I muttered, flipping through the evidence. Tom nodded. "Thought you'd like that. His wife has no idea." A slow grin spread across my face. "She's about to." I took a picture of the juiciest pieces of evidence and sent them to an unknown number. "Nick, hi Michelle. You don't know me, but we need to talk about your husband." A minute later, my phone rang. I picked up. "Hello? Who the hell is this?" a woman's voice demanded. "Someone who thought you deserved the truth." I told her everything. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, a choked breath. "He told me he was working late. He said I was paranoid." I clenched my jaw. "You weren't paranoid, Michelle. You were married to a liar." Another silence. Then, with ice in her voice, "Send me everything." I did. Every single detail. And I knew, without a doubt, Brandon was about to experience the same hell I was going through. But I wasn't done yet. I uploaded the same pictures, censored just enough to avoid legal trouble, to an anonymous email and sent them to Lauren's job, her friends, her family. No context, just the truth. By the time I got home, my phone was blowing up. Lauren had seen it. She was waiting for me in the living room, phone in hand, shaking with rage. "You are a fool," she screamed, hurling the phone across the room. I dodged it easily, smirking. "Problem, sweetheart? You ruined my life," she shrieked. I shrugged. "No, Lauren. You did." Her face was red, her hands trembling. "Do you have any idea what you've done? My boss saw this. My family saw this." "Good," I said calmly. "Now they know who you really are." Tears welled up in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pure, helpless fury. "You bastard," she whispered. I crossed my arms. "You expected to walk away without consequences?" She swallowed hard, breathing ragged. I'll fix this." I laughed. "You won't fix anything. Your cushy life is over, Lauren. You wanted to play dirty? Well, I just played better." She backed up, eyes darting to the door like she wanted to run. But there was nowhere left to hide. Lauren had finally lost. And I was just getting started. Lauren stood frozen in the living room, her face a mixture of fury and fear. She had spent years perfecting the art of manipulation, always twisting things to her advantage. But now, she had nothing. No money, no reputation, nowhere to run. I had taken everything. "You think this is funny?" she hissed, her voice trembling. I smirked, leaning against the doorframe. "Oh, I think it's poetic." She clenched her fists, breathing hard. "You've ruined my life, Nick." I tilted my head. "No, Lauren. You ruined your life. I just made sure everyone saw the real you." Her phone vibrated on the couch. She snatched it up, her eyes darting across the screen. Whatever she saw made her face go pale. I knew what it was. Her job had fired her. Lauren worked in public relations. Image was everything. A scandal like this? Sleeping with a married man, getting exposed in front of clients, colleagues, and executives? She was done. "You bastard," she whispered, sinking onto the couch. I watched her crumble, savoring the moment. "You didn't think this through, did you?" I asked. "You thought you could cheat, lie, and still come out on top." She looked up at me, her eyes burning with hatred. "I'll sue you," she spat. "I'll take everything. You won't take a damn thing." I walked over and dropped a folder onto the coffee table. She eyed it warily before flipping it open. Inside, the divorce papers. Ironclad. Bulletproof. Thanks to Tom. I had spent the last few days ensuring that Lauren would walk away with nothing. No alimony, no assets, no house. I listed off, watching her eyes widen with each word. You don't even have access to the joint account anymore. I moved everything to my name. Her lips trembled. That's not fair. I raised an eyebrow. You think cheating on your husband was fair? She slammed the folder shut. I won't sign this. I smirked. Oh, you will. She scoffed, trying to regain some of that old arrogance. And what makes you so sure? I leaned in, lowering my voice. Because if you don't, I'll make sure Brandon's wife takes everything from him. His house, his savings, his kids. Her breath hitched. Yeah, that got her attention. Brandon's wife, Michelle, was already gearing up for war. She had called me earlier that day, practically foaming at the mouth. She was filing for divorce, aiming to bleed him dry. And if Lauren refused to sign, I'd personally help Michelle destroy him even faster. You sign, I continued, and this all ends. You disappear, you move on. You don't sign, and I'll dedicate the rest of my life to making sure you suffer. Lauren swallowed hard. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She grabbed the pen, her fingers shaking. You'll regret this, Nick, she whispered. I smiled. Doubt it. She signed. And just like that, it was over. Or so she thought. Lauren may have been out of my life legally, but that didn't mean I was done with her. Not yet. She had spent years humiliating me behind my back. It was only fair I returned the favor. She still didn't know about the final card I had up my sleeve. See, while she was busy scrambling to pick up the pieces of her life, I had been planning. Step 1 was financial ruin. Done. Step 2 was public humiliation. Done. Step 3? Making sure she could never crawl back. Lauren had always relied on men to take care of her. She had no career anymore, no skills worth anything. She had burned every bridge she had. But she still had one thing left, Brandon. And I was about to take him away, too. I waited until late that night, then called Michelle again. Hey, I said when she picked up. Nick, she greeted, her voice sharper now, stronger. What's up? I have one last favor to ask. I told her the plan. She laughed, a dark, vengeful laugh. Oh, I love this. An hour later, Michelle sent Brandon a text. Michelle, I forgive you. Let's talk. The fool took the bait immediately. Brandon, baby, I'm so sorry. I messed up. Please, let's work this out. Michelle played the perfect role, stringing him along, making him believe he still had a chance. Then, she made sure Lauren saw the messages. It wasn't hard, just a simple screenshot, accidentally, sent to Lauren's number. I don't know what kind of meltdown Lauren had after that, but I do know that 2 hours later, Brandon was kicked out of his own house, and Lauren was left completely alone. No husband, no lover, no money, no reputation, just an empty house and a ruined life. 2 weeks later, I was packing the last of my things. The house was mine, of course. Lauren had no claim to it anymore. I was done with this place, though. Too many bad memories. As I was leaving, I saw her one last time. She was sitting on the front steps, wrapped in an old hoodie, staring blankly at the street. A broken woman. She looked up at me, her eyes hollow. You really hate me, don't you? I stopped, considering. No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. Her lips trembled. Then why did you do all of this? I exhaled slowly. Because you deserved it. And with that, I walked away. For the first time in years, I felt free. As I walked away from the house that once held so many memories, good and bad, I felt lighter. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of betrayal, rage, and revenge. But standing there now, watching the last remnants of my old life fade into the background, I realized something. It was over. Lauren had nothing left. No husband, no job, no reputation, no lover to run to. The woman who had spent years manipulating and lying had finally been stripped of all the illusions she had built around herself. The world had seen her for what she was, and now she had to live with the consequences. For the first time in years, I wasn't weighed down by suspicion, heartbreak, or the gnawing feeling that something was wrong. I wasn't tied to a woman who pretended to love me while secretly laughing at my obliviousness. I was free. But freedom comes with choices. And for the first time in a long time, I had to ask myself, what was next? I spent the next few weeks sorting through everything. There were loose ends to tie up, a future to plan. Divorce was finalized without any trouble. Lauren had no ground to stand on. My lawyer made sure of that. I kept the house, but I had no intention of staying. Too many ghosts lingered there, reminders of the life I thought I had. Selling it was easy. The market was good, and within a month, I had a buyer. I packed up the last of my things, moving into a modern apartment downtown. It was smaller, simpler, but it was mine. No traces of Lauren. No bad memories. I started hitting the gym again. The months of stress had taken a toll on my body, but with each session, I felt stronger. Not just physically, but mentally. The anger, the resentment, the bitterness that had fueled me through my revenge started to fade. What replaced it was a quiet determination. I wasn't going to be the man Lauren had made me. Weak, gullible, settling for less than I deserved. I had wasted years with a woman who never valued me. That would never happen again. One evening, I found myself at a bar, something I hadn't done in years. Not since before Lauren. It was a different feeling now, being single, but on my own terms. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just a moment to enjoy the newfound liberation. The bartender slid a drink in front of me, and as I sipped, I let myself absorb the scene. The low hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses, the laughter of strangers. A woman sat a few seats away, catching my attention. She was effortlessly beautiful, not in the overly polished way Lauren had been, but naturally striking. There was a confidence in the way she carried herself, an ease that was almost magnetic. She noticed me watching, smirking slightly before taking a sip of her drink. A silent challenge. I wasn't the same man I had been a few months ago. I wasn't desperate for affection, for validation. I was here because I wanted to be. And for the first time in years, I was actually looking forward to what came next. Lauren's downfall had been swift and brutal, and while I had no regrets, I had no desire to dwell on her anymore. The last I had heard, she was struggling. Brandon had cut her off completely after his wife drained him dry. Without him, Lauren had no financial safety net. She had tried reaching out to old friends, former colleagues, even distant relatives, but no one wanted to be associated with the scandal. Her name was tainted. Every attempt she made to rebuild was met with closed doors. Eventually, she disappeared from my radar. And honestly, that was fine by me. I had spent too long thinking about her, obsessing over what she had done, planning every detail of her downfall. Now, she was nothing more than a chapter in my past. A lesson learned. The biggest revelation after everything? I had been blind for so long. Lauren's affair wasn't just a betrayal of our marriage. It was proof of how much I had let myself settle. I had ignored the red flags, convinced myself that love meant loyalty, that devotion was a two-way street. It wasn't. Not with the wrong person. But that didn't mean I wouldn't find the right one someday. For now, though, I was content. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking backward. I was only moving forward. Months passed, and with each day, the weight of my past grew lighter. The anger, the resentment, the obsession with revenge. Everything that had consumed me for so long had faded into something else. Closure. For the first time in years, I woke up without the feeling of dread in my chest. I didn't check my phone expecting to find lies. I didn't look at the woman next to me, questioning her loyalty. I didn't live in paranoia. Lauren was a ghost now, a distant memory. But life has a funny way of bringing things full circle. One evening, I was walking through the city, enjoying the crisp air, when I spotted a familiar figure on the other side of the street. Lauren. She looked different. Not the polished, arrogant woman I once knew. Her hair was messy, her clothes not as pristine. She wasn't glowing with confidence anymore. She looked tired. For a moment, she didn't see me. She was staring into the window of a cafe, probably debating whether she could afford whatever was inside. Then her gaze lifted, and our eyes met. I expected anger, bitterness, maybe even hatred. Instead, I saw something that almost surprised me. Shame. She quickly looked away, turning as if she was about to leave. But something in me made me step forward. Not because I wanted to talk. Not because I wanted an apology. But because this was it. The true end. Lauren. She froze before slowly turning around. Up close, she looked even worse. Dark circles under her eyes, stress lines that hadn't been there before. She forced a smirk, but it didn't reach her eyes. Nick, fancy seeing you here. There was no venom in her tone, no arrogance, just exhaustion. I didn't say anything at first. I just studied her, realizing that this woman, the one who had spent years manipulating, cheating, and betraying, was finally feeling what it was like to lose. You look good, she said, forcing a small chuckle. New life suits you. I nodded. It does. Silence stretched between us. She shifted uncomfortably, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You really did a number on me, you know, she admitted, looking away. I never thought you had it in you. I shrugged. You never really knew me, Lauren. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She knew I was right. She had spent years treating me like a fool, believing she had the upper hand. But she had underestimated me. She sighed. I guess I deserve it. You do. She let out a bitter laugh. You're not even gonna sugarcoat it, huh? No point. She nodded slowly, staring at the ground. For the first time, I saw it. The regret. Not just for getting caught, but for everything. Brandon left, she said quietly. Took what little he had left and disappeared. Michelle got everything. I lost my job, my friends, my reputation. No one wants to hire me. No one wants to talk to me. I didn't respond. What was there to say? This was the life she had chosen. She had built her world on lies and manipulation, and when it all crumbled, she had nothing left to stand on. She looked up at me again, hesitation in her eyes. Do you think? She trailed off, biting her lip. I already knew what she wanted to ask. Do I think what? I pushed. She inhaled sharply, steeling herself. Do you think there's ever a chance we could, I don't know, be friends? I let the words hang in the air. Then I smiled. Not cruelly, not bitterly, just knowingly. No, Lauren. We were never friends to begin with. Her face fell slightly, but she nodded. Deep down, she had probably known the answer before she even asked. This was the final chapter. The last page of a book I had no interest in rereading. Take care of yourself, I said simply before turning to leave. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I was free, and I was never looking back again.